Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated as we are about to commence.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Chief of the South African National Defence Force, General Anthem, PS, SF, MMM, MMD, a hearty welcome to this Armed Forces Day Parade of 2023. The main functional review, President of the Republic of South Africa, His Excellency, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, the Commander-in-Chief of the South African National Defence Force. The following military protocol must be observed. The arrival of the President and his entourage will be announced. On the arrival of the President of the Republic of South Africa, all spectators are required to stand and remain standing until completion of the national anthem, the 21-round salute, and the salute flight, which will be performed by 3 helicopters flying 2 national flags in the South African National Defence Force flag respectively. During the flag ceremony, all spectators are required to remain seated when the 70-round gun salute is fired, in honor of the handing and taking over of the South African National Defence Force. During the march past, all spectators are required to stand when the various colourful marches pass their line of vision. All military spectators are required to salute, and all mixed spectators are required to compliment by raising their hands. On completion of the march past and recognized column, the mass flight pass will be performed by the South African Air Force, after which the final compliment will then be awarded to the main functional. All spectators are required to stand for the playing of the national anthem on completion of the parade. Military spectators are to salute, and all men spectators are required.
Well, indeed, Naledi, proceedings have already, started here in Richards Bay, where we are seeing members of the South African National Defence Force basically queuing up here for the parade, which commenced a short while ago. And the program director at the back, I'm sure you can hear, she's busy giving details in terms of how the official program is going to be conducted. And of course, we know that the President of the Republic of South Africa, His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa, in his capacity as the Commander-in-Chief, is about to enter this venue where we are, and then thereafter there will be other activities which include the 21 gun salute as well as the official prayer that will then be followed by the address of the President of the Republic of South Africa. But I'm joined by retired Major General Mokwabe, who's going to explain to us really the significance of this day. Major General, thank you very much for your time, by the way.
Only a pleasure, sir. And good morning to all your viewers throughout the country. This is a historic day. And first of all, I would like to put this day in the historic context that the men who perished in the SS Mendi had gone to assist the British Empire in its struggle against Kaiser of Germany. Now, Kaiser of Germany, the emperor then, had observed that in the 1884 Berlin Conference, when European powers were subdividing the world unto themselves, Germany came out with only Namibia, Cameroon, and Tanganyika. Small countries like Portugal were controlling countries as big, colonies as big as Angola, Mozambique, Brazil. Small Spain had Chile, had Argentina. And the British, as you know, they were saying the sun never sets in the British Empire. So Germany felt that it was done under. And the first thing to do is to conquer these European powers and then seize their colonies. And that's why the first attack in 1914 was on Belgium, because Belgium was having the Congo, today's DRC. You get the Congo, you control the world. And then they were going to France. So they overran the Belgian government, went to France, you get the whole of West Africa.
Yeah.
So the British Empire then called on all in their colonies to come. And with the Africans, they suspected that these Africans can rise against them if they teach them on how to use weaponry. So the people of the SS Mendi were not soldiers as such. They were a labor component that was going to be carrying the bodies of the British dead. That's why they called them stretch bearers. They were going to be cooks. They were going to be drivers, right? So that's the context of this, the SS Mendi, that it were support for the Allied forces against Germany. Insofar as this day is concerned, we are honoring all those who fell in wars in this country, right from our ancestors who resisted colonialism in the 16th, 17th century, including the best of the British colonial regiments that were sent here to suppress the Africans. We go through all the First and Second World Wars in which people on both sides of the divide died. We go through the Liberation War of the 60s and leading up to 1994, and we also respect and pay respect to those who fell post-1994, including the young man that we buried just day before yesterday, Sergeant Mabena, who died in the same Congo that we're talking about on a peace mission, right? So today, what the president is going to do, he's going to put his hand on his chest. Now, that symbolizes that the medals on my chest are nothing as I bow to those who fell and gave their all. That's the importance of this day. We humble ourselves, but at the same time say, just like Mandela said, never again, never again.
Major General, let's speak about the role of the South African National Defence Force in the African continent now.
Well, first of all, we say that the South African National Defence Force has got several arms of service. It's the Army, it's the Navy, it's the Air Force, it's the South African Military Health Service, and of course you have intelligence and logistics.
Okay, retired Major General, of course we'll continue with this broadcast. I'm sure viewers can see the king of the AmaZulu nation arriving in this particular commemoration, King Misuzulu Kazwelithini, being accompanied by the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal, Premier Nomusa Dube. Of course, and I'm told that we have to link back to studio for now, as of course we continue with the proceedings and anticipate the arrival of the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa. But for now, it's back to you in studio, Naledi.
Yeah, no, this is in order.
I think, he still has a lot to say.
Yeah, this is in order. No problem. Yeah. I have all your...
Yes. Just remember to put it here, closer to the mouth.
Yeah. It's obvious.
Yebo. Yes, I've told him. Yes, I've told him. Yeah,
so far it's been so good. So far it was all right. Oh.
As long as you just remember, put it here, so it's
yeah.
as close as possible.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. The South African national anthem has just been sung here with the arrival of the President of the Republic of South Africa, His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa, as you can see in your visuals there, standing next to General Rudzani Mapanywa, who is the General of the was the chief rather of the South African National Defence Force here, as of course they commemorate this all-important day which remembers those men who perished during the sinking of the SS Mendi in 1917. Of course, we have been speaking to various stakeholders within the South African National Defence Force from this morning. As a matter of fact, throughout the week we have been present here observing some of the basically activities that are being done by the members of the South African National Defence Force. Let's now cross over to the podium and listen in. The official program commences in Richards Bay for the 2023 Armed Forces Day commemoration. And earlier on, of course, we were in conversation with retired Major General Mokwape, who was telling us basically about the importance of this day. General, you spoke about the role of the SANDF in the broader context as well as in the African continent. Who is exactly attending this very crucial day here today?
Today, yes, here, Simpiwe. We have the regular force. These are the permanent members of the force. We've got the reserve force, that is a part-time component of the defense force. Civilians out there who have been militarily trained and are called as and when, like on an event like this. We also have civil institutions. You see the king is here, the traditional leaders of this region are here. Then the political side that leads us, the political side, the executive is here. So you have got a military family that includes the defense industry, by the way. Without the defense industry, there's nothing that we can do. Now, this is the entire family of the military that's here. Now, why the SANDF? The SANDF has got two components. The one component is a defense force at war that defends against the aggressor the territorial integrity of the country and the waters and the airspace. Then we have a force for peace, a force that defends the nation against the elements, against disasters, against diseases, against everything that is about the best of human beings. So the Defense Force today here is demonstrating, and we have been hosted by the Navy, is demonstrating its capability to the region in general, I mean in particular, but to the community at large, that we are indeed capable of operating together. So the Army, the Navy, and all the arms are here. And we singled out the South African Military Health Service to be the one that shows the beautiful and peacetime of its defense nature. And the operation is called Project OA2. And Project OA2 was planned in July last year and executed from January. And throughout the whole region of Richards Bay, they coordinated with 5 different government departments, illustrating how any government department may say, we don't have the reach. Where are you, the Defense Force? Because within us, we have the veterinary section. So our veterinarians, our surgeons, our veterinary surgeons have operated on more than 1,000 animals in this area, including, in fact, amputating a dog. Our social workers have been busy advising young girls on pregnancies, sexually transmitted diseases, and we've been everywhere. We are able, our doctors are able to do dentistry, are able to do cataract operations in the field, which civilian doctors cannot do. So we are able to go deep into the rural areas, remote areas, where an ordinary ambulance cannot reach. We do reach. And to that extent, we show that we are a people's force, and at the same time, we are a defensive force, which can be called upon, as we do, to assist in conflict areas. So we are one of the major contributors of the United Nations peacekeeping forces. As you may know, the United Nations doesn't have forces itself. It calls upon countries that are willing to say, would you be willing? And we always raise our arm to say we are willing. That is why we were in Burundi at a time when thousands of people were being massacred. We've been to Liberia, we've been to the Comoros, right now we are in the DRC, we've been to Sudan. So we've been and we'll still be everywhere. But wherever we go, we make a mark. The South African soldiers always make a mark and come back as better citizens than they went there.
Earlier on, I was speaking to one senior member of the SANDF, and he was telling me that if soldiers are not at war, they are preparing for war.
Yes.
Having seen the demonstrations that have been taking place throughout the week, what is your assessment and your observation of those?
First of all, we are doing much with very, very little. We have been shortchanged when it comes to budgets. And perhaps sometimes the decision makers don't know that we are a reliable arm of every single government department. You talk about housing, we're able to assist. You're talking about medical health, as I have said. You're talking about education. Our teachers and lecturers are called instructors, right? And the complete teaching staff is called directing staff. And these are at our schools of excellence. So every little thing that you can think of as a profession, we do. And therefore, I would say what I saw here now, especially last night and the day before, is that we had come to demonstrate to the people that we are for you. We would never be against the people, and the people must rely on us. But with the little, you can see that we're able to show South Africa that the enemy won't pass. But more than that, I talked about what is called intra-operability, how the different arms of service work together to stop the enemy.
Okay.
But we also talk about interoperability. And I'll explain to you more about that.
Okay, Major General, thank you so much for your time. And of course, we are going to continue basically giving our viewers a blow-by-blow coverage in terms of the proceedings here. As you can see in your visuals, I'm seeing members of the South African National Defence Force conducting that parade, which is just concluded, and the President is already seated, meaning that the program has now officially begun. But of course, we'll continue with this coverage. But for now, let's link back to Studio 2. Naledi and Desiree.
The President of the Republic of South Africa will now award the bravery awards to the deserving members of the South African National Defence Force. Golden Leopard. The President has been pleased to award the Ngoya Gauta Institution 27 April 2003 by a warrant dated 16 April 2003. Two members will now step forward, the members of the South African National Defence Force who have distinguished themselves by performing acts of exceptional bravery during military operation. Lieutenant Colonel Mahoro. Lieutenant Colonel Mahoro. Major Rambi. Major Rambi. Captain Ntuli. Captain Ntuli. Warrant Officer Class 2, Zwan. Warrant Officer Class 2, Zwan. Staff Sergeant Ukwanazi. Staff Sergeant Ukwanazi. Sergeant Maduba. Sergeant Maduba. Sergeant Muchoni. Sergeant Muchoni. Lieutenant Colonel Mahoro. Major Rambi. Captain Ntuli. Warrant Officer Class 2, Zwan. Staff Sergeant Ukwanazi. Sergeant Maduba. Sergeant Muchoni. Ukwaya Kaunda, Golden Leopard. Customers. The person will be pleased to award the Ukwaya Kaunda instituted on 27 April 2003 by Warrant dated 16 April 2003. Customers to the next of keys who will now step forward, being families of the deceased who were the members of the South African National Defence Force who have received themselves by performing acts of exceptional bravery during military operations. Mr. S. Ramdi will be receiving the medal on behalf of 9771 Ms. Kay Mandel will be receiving the medal on behalf of 07007859 MC A.E. Francis William Mandel. Mr. B.H. Sabra will be receiving the medal on behalf of 12001210 MG Stephen Henry the Dog.
Silver Leopard. The President has been pleased to award the Ngoya Silifera Institution 27 April 2003 by a warrant dated 16 April 2003 to members who now step forward, be members of the South African National Defence Force who have extinguished themselves by performing acts of conspicuous bravery during military operation. Sergeant Maseko, Sergeant Maseko, Sergeant Mukhaditwe, Sergeant Mukhaditwe, Sergeant Mutuni, Sergeant Mutuni, Sergeant Matou, Sergeant Matou,
Sergeant Zwane, Sergeant Zwane, Corporal Mutabe, Corporal Mutabe. Sergeant Maseko, Sergeant Mukhaditse, Sergeant Mutumi, Sergeant Matou, Sergeant Zwane, Corporal Mutabe, Bronze Leopard. The President has been pleased to award the Ngoya Bronze institution 27 April 2003 by warrant dated 16 April 2003 to members who now step forward be members of the South African National Defence Force who have distinguished themselves by performing acts of bravery during military operation. Warrant Officer Class 2, Shirinda. Warrant Officer Class 2, Shirinda. Staff Sergeant Mabasa. Staff Sergeant Mabasa. Warrant Officer Class 2, Shirinda. Staff Sergeant Mabasa. This concludes the medals and awards ceremony. The President of the Republic of South Africa is requested to deliver his keynote address.
Program Director, His Majesty King Misizulu Kazwelithini, Deputy Minister of Defense and Military Veterans, Mr. Thabang Makwetla, Chief of the South African National Defense Force, General Rudzani Maphanya, Acting Secretary for Defense, Dr. Thobekile Gamede, the Plenary Defense Staff Council, Generals, Admirals, Officers, and Warrant Officers, non-commissioned officers, soldiers, sailors, airmen, and women on parade, chiefs of the Defense Force from our neighboring countries who have visited us, and chiefs of the Navy from other countries who have also visited us, guests and ladies and gentlemen, and former chiefs of the South African National Defense Force, such as General Shope, who is here with us, fellow South Africans, I am indeed honored to be addressing you on this very special day here in Richards Bay. Every year we observe the Armed Forces Day to recognize and to celebrate the immense contribution that is made by the members of our armed forces in creating a better life for the people of South Africa and for the people of our region, SADC, and of course our beloved continent, Africa. On this day, we remember and pay tribute to all our fallen men and women in uniform who have lost their lives in the line of duty. Among these, we remember those who tragically lost their lives when the SS Mendi sank on this day 106 years ago in the English Channel during the First World War. As we mark this day, we appreciate that our armed forces are continuing the pursuit of the ideal for which their departed predecessors lived for. They have picked up the spears of our fallen heroes and heroines and continue the effort to give our people lasting peace, security, and stability. As the Commander-in-Chief, I commend the good work you are all doing as men and women in the uniform of our country. As we gather to honor the serving members of our armed forces, those who have served in the past and those who have fallen over the years, we are reminded that we stand on the shoulders of patriots such as Reverend Isaac Wogop Joba, who, when confronted with the death aboard the SS Mendi, led his countrymen in song even as death was descending upon them. We are inspired by their bravery as we stand here in the face of grave challenges confronting our society. We are determined to emerge triumphant from the struggle against poverty, inequality, unemployment, gender-based violence, crime, disease, and deprivation. While our armed forces are always on guard to defend our hard-earned sovereignty and constitutional democracy, as well as our constitutional order, they do much more than just that. They actively contribute to the social and economic development of our country. They are to be found on rescue missions in times of disaster. They are to be found rebuilding and building bridges. Where a desperate need exists, they are found. And they are also to be found rehabilitating our rivers from the effects of pollution. They have time and time again shown that they are a force for good, and they are an integral part of all progressive humanity. I wish to pay tribute to all members of our armed forces who, at great risk to their own lives, work tirelessly to help maintain law and order in times of crisis. I commend the highest level of discipline with which they discharge their duties under very difficult conditions. By virtue of their calling, as well as their allegiance to our Constitution, they act without hesitation whenever they are called upon to do so. They act without hesitation when their country needs them most. I salute you all who carry out tasks in time of disaster that literally stand between life and death. We commend the exemplary selflessness, self-sacrifice, and patriotism of our armed forces who, even in the face of great danger, always put the interests of the country first. Always put the interests of South Africans first. From North Africa to Southern Africa, from the Sahel region and the west part of our continent to the Horn of Africa on the east part of our continent, and the Great Lakes region in the central part of our continent, South Africa depends on the South African National Defence Force to support peace building on the continent as part of a mandate from the African Union and the United Nations. We extend our appreciation and respect to our forces deployed in various missions across our beautiful continent, Africa. We mourn all those who have lost their lives in the effort to silence the guns on our continent. Just 2 weeks ago, we lost Flight Sergeant Vusi Mabena when his helicopter came under attack in eastern DRC. We extend our deepest sympathies and condolences to his family, his friends, and his colleagues. He is not alone. And this morning, we've just given posthumous medals to the families of others who have also departed. Unlike the apartheid era South African Defence Force, the Democratic South African National Defence Force is committed to forging peace and supporting development. The primary function of the SANDF is to protect the territorial integrity of our nation's borders. It is a tough task. We read of their successes every month, almost every week, as they confront illegal migration and international crime syndicates, working hand in hand with our nation's law enforcement agencies as part of the long-running Operation Corona. Our soldiers are there to stand guard in times of crisis within our borders, and they did so resolutely during Operation Prosper. Now the South African National Defence Force is guarding vital infrastructure against those who would endanger the security of the state to advance their own personal interests. We have deployed them in vital areas where we have our infrastructure, for instance in Eskom and in various other parts, water systems and so forth. We called on the South African National Defence Force during the initial phases of COVID-19. It was a vital part of our response to the pandemic through Operation Notlela. This included the work of the South African Military Health Service, which provided support to our public health response to COVID-19. It is therefore wonderful to witness the launch of Project Owetu to coincide with this year's Armed Forces Day. Through Project Owetu, the South African National Defence Force is working with government departments to provide access to healthcare and other social services in communities in KwaZulu-Natal that are remote and marginalized. Project Owetu can be a great catalyst and a great help for change through empowering communities, giving communities the capabilities and the help and the wherewithal to improve people's lives. The South African National Defence Force is no stranger to the people of KwaZulu-Natal. Its members have been serving in this province since the devastating floods of last year. And I'm really delighted that we have in our midst the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal. We also have in our midst the District Mayor, as well as the local municipality mayor, who are part of these celebrations. And when I talk about the role that the SANDF has played in this province, Premier Nomusa Dube Ngube knows exactly well how the SANDF has come to the assistance of the people of our province here. Most of these members of the SA Army Engineer Corps and medical practitioners from the South African Military Health Service, they have helped to build bridges, they have helped to fix roads, and have also delivered purified water when water systems have been broken down by floods. With the confidence and the faith we have in the capabilities of our armed forces, we are reassured as a people that no matter the circumstances, the South African National Defence Force will always be there to restore order, to maintain calm, support our people, and defend the territorial integrity of the Republic of South Africa. We salute all our men and women in military uniform on Armed Forces Day, and we thank them for their courageous and tireless service. Yes, as the preacher was talking earlier, it is our clear intent as the government of the Republic of South Africa to look after our men and women in uniform, to care for them, to make sure that they have the wherewithal to continue defending the people of South Africa with all their capabilities. We're also very proud and pleased to have members of Parliament here with us, and members of the Provincial Council here with us, legislature with us. And this is an important day. Armed Forces Day is a day in which we celebrate those who are prepared to fight, to defend, and to lay down their lives for the sake of peace in our country. May God continue to bless South Africa, and may God continue to protect South Africa, and may God continue to protect the men and women in uniform. I thank you.
The handing over of the South African National Defence Force flag will now commence. Please take note that during the flag ceremony, there will be a general salute, including a 17-round gun salute. All spectators are required to remain seated, and only the ceremonial guard will acknowledge the salute.
Upon the commemoration of the establishment of the South African National Defence Force, the South African National Defence Force flag is handed from the Chief of the South African Navy to the Chief of the South African Army on this 21st day of February 2023. Whereas the Chief of the South African Army will have the flag in safekeeping for a period of 1 year on behalf of the services, as a symbol of the unity, determination, and strength of the South African National Defence Force. The title, Keeper of the Flag, is bestowed upon you. In this capacity, you are hereby charged to ensure that the South African National Defence Force flag is unfurled and displayed in the appropriate manner at the South African Army Headquarters. The flag, being the symbol of unity, determination and strength of the South African National Defence Force, is to be treated with respect at all times. During the next commemoration of Armed Forces Day, you are to present the flag in an appropriate manner to the next appointed keeper of the flag. The handing over of the scroll will now commence. The 17-round gun salute will now commence. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the flag ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, the marching columns, mechanized columns, and the mass fly past from the services and divisions of the South African National Defence Force will now commence.
Ladies and gentlemen, approaching from the west to east, in other words from the left, are the marching columns from the four armed services of the South African National Defence Force, namely the South African Army, the South African Air Force, the South African Navy, and the South African Military Health Service. Spectators are reminded to stand when the various color opening marches past their line of vision. All meeting spectators are required to salute, and all non-civilian spectators are required to compliment by removing their headdress.
Well, indeed, we're coming to you right here from Richards Bay, where the Commander-in-Chief of the South African Defence Force just, paid tribute on this, day of Armed Force Day, rather, where the military, is being celebrated, but also the President not missing a chance to speak about an incident that happened about 106 years ago, when a ship that was carrying soldiers of South Africans. That was happening at that time. Yeah, you could tell that the role of soldiers indeed it's very difficult. Also, we know that in this case, we know that it also reflects as if it's gloomy, but the army also goes through challenges. But with me, I'm with Major General Mokwape. Continue the conversation. Major General, the President spoke about a lot of issues here, paying tribute to those who have fallen. I guess being, in the army is not as easy as one might think. It also comes with its own difficulties.
Yes, Ntantla. What we have seen today, the different arms of service all coming together, demonstrating the ability to pull events of this nature. More than 8,000 participants came from all over the country, and to bring weaponry and men and women and to invite international guests to do all that demonstrates an ability by the Defense Force to organize major events such as this. The President touched on very, very important and key issues. First of all, he recognizes that the soldiers and the sailors are ready to put their lives on the line for the freedom of the people. And he kept on talking about the wherewithal, both of the nation and of the necessary support that must be given by all of us, government, treasury, the legislature, the parliamentarians who are here. He says, let's make sure that the Defense Force is assisted through resources and all to do this.
Sorry to cut you. He also touched on Operation Wait.
Yes.
Just briefly talk to us with regards to that. I mean, you've been in the army for, served for a long time.
Right. Yes. In Tlantla, I can see there's a difference between the army. The army is just one part of our Defense Force. We have the Navy, we have the Air Force, we have the Military Health Service, we have logistics and intelligence. Those are the 4 services and divisions. Now, being in the Defense Force, we also say in peacetime, how does the nation benefit from our knowledge? The kind of things that we're able to do are, again, just like when we defend the country against the aggressor, so also we are the first to be in the field should the society need us. Now, there are certain very deep rural areas, as we have seen here in KwaZulu-Natal. Deep areas, very remote, very marginalized, where an ambulance cannot go.
And we also saw him, we also saw today during the ceremony that in one gunshot for a civilian like me. I was so, surprised. Can you talk to us with regards to a bit more about that?
Now, as we say, this is a celebration of victory over all the evils that had befallen our country, right? So what is happening here is the 21-gun salute is the highest form of honoring those who came before you, or honoring the highest person. In this case, it was not so much for the president, and who is also commander-in-chief, who is also patron of the veterans. It was truly for the fallen of the Mendi, for the fallen of the Zulu warriors and other tribes warriors who fought colonialism. It's also victory, symbolic of victory over apartheid as recently as after 1994.
As we wrap up, it's not all gloomy. We know we are here to commemorate, we are here to honor. We are also here to showcase to young people that it's fun being the army.
Absolutely.
In a minute, if you can just take us through, the challenges that, the SNDF is facing. I mean, I spoke to an analyst who said to me that, he's confident that South African National Defence Force can stand anything, but was worried about the budget allocation.
Yeah, the budget allocation is a key thing, and we would like people to know. We can't, after having these soldiers sacrificing like this, and when they reach an age where they cannot be combat ready, throw them out there. We've got to keep them, reskill them, and they must be absorbed by the employer environment. That is our biggest challenge.
Indeed, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
That was the president who was speaking. That was retired Major General Mugwape there, just talking to us about celebrations here. And also there, as you heard, he also touched on, what, the SNDF is facing, and also saying that the 21-gun salute is not only for the president, but for each and every, warrior that has fallen. With that being said, it's back to you in studio.
gentlemen, approaching from west to east, in other words from the left, are the mechanized elements displaying the capabilities of the South African National Defence Force.
Ladies and gentlemen, approaching now the South African military police, led by Captain Hardy and members of the military police division. First in line are the operational motorbikes, consisting of the Honda 700cc and Honda 750cc. They utilized during operations and exercises to patrol the main supply routes, escort VIPs and crime prevention, followed by the Land Cruiser SUVs, which are utilized to support the deployed forces at the borderlines for patrol as command vehicles. Then behind them are the Land Cruiser pickups, which are also utilized to support the deployed forces during the borderline operations, to conduct visible policing and investigation. Followed by the Land Rovers, which are utilized during operations and exercises and command vehicles, and can also be deployed as crime prevention and investigation vehicles. And lastly, approaching, we've got the Mamba Mark III vehicles, which is a combat vehicle that carries a province section during operations and exercises for maneuver and mobility support. It is also utilized at the traffic control post and is usually mounted with a light machine gun for offensive and defensive maneuvers of own personnel. Ladies and gentlemen, the South African Military Police. I will now hand over to Colonel Khasapani.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you as we introduce you to the Pride of Lions, the South African Army. The mechanized columns from the South African Army today, led by Lieutenant Colonel Malachi, the officer commanding of 1 South African Infantry Battalion out in Center City, Bloemfontein. She is in her Rattle 12,7 command. This is with a one-man turret that is able then to provide protection to both the crew as well as the HQ itself, with a singular main weapon that it carries behind. These various other command vehicles, such as the second in command, also in a 12-7, as well as the intelligence officer that is using the same vehicle platform as the commander. They are all in the Rattle 12,7mm vehicle. It's a 6x6 vehicle, and it is a modularized vehicle. Next, ladies and gentlemen, is in a two-man turret, the Rattle 20. It is armed with a 20mm quick firing gun. It's a two-man turret. It's got a main gun, and you have got there the vehicle of choice for the fighting mechanized elements of the South African Army, and particularly the South African Army Infantry. The Rattle 20 has been a trusted workhorse of the fighting mechanized soldiers for years, and it continues to be a trusted capability. Behind them, as we start with the support vehicles, we have got the 60mm vehicle, Rattle 60 as we call it. It has got the 60mm breech-loaded mortar system, as well as the 7.62 grounding machine gun, coaxially mounted with it in a two-man turret. Next, we have got the 81mm Rattle that has got the said motor system that is utilized in an assault role, making sure then that inherently the mechanized infantry has got their own indirect firepower capability. The anti-tank capabilities provided then, ladies and gentlemen, by the Rattle 90 with the 90mm quick firing gun, as well as the 7.62 as a secondary weapon of these. Next in the column, ladies and gentlemen, coming in new from Denel State-owned Company of South Africa, the new Badger vehicle, the infantry fighting vehicle. We have got in front the 12,7 command. It is followed by the section variant, that is armed with the 30mm Denel chem gun, linkless. That is the four that are behind the command. Then we have got the missile variant that carries the 127mm missile, also from Denel. And lastly, the ambulance that can carry either 6 patients sitting or 3 patients lying, as you see passing in front of you. This capability, ladies and gentlemen, is aimed at providing increased mobility, protection, as well as accurate fire while on the move and unmatched flexibility that is to be added to the already fledgling mechanized capability of the South African Army. The next capability, ladies and gentlemen, is the motorized infantry capability. They are in their typical Casper armored vehicles. These, ladies and gentlemen, are the capabilities with which the South African Army is able to protect and consolidate on the gains that are made on the battlefield by making sure that not only can they fight to win the ground, but they can also maintain the won ground to ensure that the gains won on the battlefield are not lost. The last of these capabilities, ladies and gentlemen, from the South African infantry is the light capability, light infantry. They are in the Mamba armored vehicles. Contained in this capability, ladies and gentlemen, are the canine or the dog capability. They have got also the motorcycle capability, as well as the horses that they use. They are aimed at making sure that our rear areas are protected from any possible opposing forces interference. I'm going to introduce Lieutenant Colonel Engelbert to take us through the armor.
Ladies and gentlemen, South African Army Armored Corps. Our first vehicle is the 76mm Mark 1D Rekat Armored Car. Ladies and gentlemen, this vehicle is known for its high mobility, high firepower, and its versatility. The armored car is one move forward, leads the advance, makes contact with the enemy, and then destroy hard and quick targets. Ladies and gentlemen, this Rekat armored car was manufactured right here in South Africa. It is followed by 127mm 53 anti-aircraft vehicle. Ladies and gentlemen, the gently fire engaged enemies at a distance of 5,000 meters with a factor of 4,000 main firepower. Ladies and gentlemen, this net is known for its shock effect, high firepower, engaged enemies. Mark 1A has a mass of 53 tons and has a bridge capacity of 17 tons. Ladies and gentlemen, this armored car is the mainstream of the 152nd Regiment. Ladies and gentlemen, is followed by the armor from the ARB. This tank, ladies and gentlemen, is carrying all armor tanks from the Patriot back to the US colony. Ladies and gentlemen, followed now is the Zebra. The Zebra is the container that keeps the scale of the armored vehicles. After, ladies and gentlemen, it's all followed by the Scammer is there to recover all the armored vehicles from the echelon back to the echelon. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the armored corps all the way from Newfoundland to the Over to you,
Thank you, colleague. Ladies and gentlemen, we introduce the gunners, the South African Army Artillery. They are led by their commander in a tactical command post. It is a 12,7 rifle. Behind them is the observation post officers. They are in their basic artillery observation system, which is a rifle 60. Their role is to ensure that there is a control to the flow of shot. Behind them, ladies and gentlemen, is the SAML 100 fire control post. This is the position from where the ballistic computation for accurate predicted fire of the South African artillery gets conducted. We then introduce the first of the firing capabilities of the South African artillery, the airborne, air-landed, as well as motorized, depending on what is required of them. The 120mm M5 motor battery, the Cobra. They are on the Gecko logistic vehicles. 6 of these capabilities, ladies and gentlemen, constitute the smallest firing unit of the artillery, which is a battery. The M5 has got a crew of 6, and ladies and gentlemen, this crew can be configured depending on the mission at hand and based in what role they are to be utilized. Next is the 127mm multiple rocket launcher system, the Battalier. There is a pack at the back of it that has got 40 tubes. The system is capable of launching 40 of these rockets out to a range of 27 kilometers. And it has got also a crew of 6 that is in a protected cab that you can see in front of the main pad. The Battalion, ladies and gentlemen, is a high-order asset. It can utilize doctrinally in the Army at the highest level of the formation in battle, typically at the brigade level, as the effects of this system are aimed at being enjoyed by the bulk of the forces engaged in battle, the Battalion. Next, ladies and gentlemen, we continue with the third of the firing capabilities of the South African Army. It is the 55mm G5 battery. It is a towed system that is towed by the SAML 100 gun tractor that you can see. That has got also behind the driver's side has got the crew compartment. It has got a crew of 8. And this system, ladies and gentlemen, is capable of launching devastating effect of its firepower beyond the range of 40 kilometers. The G5, ladies and gentlemen, we call them Leopards, and has been the pride of the South African artillery for years. These capabilities, ladies and gentlemen, hail from out in Potchefstroom in the northwest province of our country, as we call it then the home of the South African artillery. Behind the G5, ladies and gentlemen, is another of the 155mm capabilities. This is the Rhinos, the 155mm G6 battery. It is a self-propelled system. You are looking at the combat mass of 46 tons behind the G5s here. They are being carried by their low beds that carries them ideally on our roads to make sure that we try and keep that mass intact. This system also has got a range, a static range of beyond 40 kilometers. However, with its high mobility and with the agility of the commanders as we train them, we are able to project the effect of this system beyond the 100 kilometers, utilizing the synergy between its range and its reach, making sure then that where required, we can extend we can execute operations such as artillery raids with the G6 battery on ranges that are sometimes beyond imagination. These, ladies and gentlemen, are the last then of the firing capabilities of the gunners from Potchefstroom, as I call back Lieutenant Colonel Engelbrecht to continue then with the gunners of Kimberley and Eberlo in air defense artillery.
Thank you, Colonel Kasapani. Ladies and gentlemen, participants in air defense artillery, the first two vehicles is a vehicle. Vehicle carries the LMG and the Star Strike missile. This vehicle, ladies and gentlemen, it is also air-landed and it is being used by the Air Defense Artillery Airborne Forces, followed by the 60mm rifle. It is the vehicle of the commander. The commander is the one who's giving command to his forces. After that vehicle, the next in line is the Bosman. It is a self-propelled 23mm anti-aircraft gun. Ladies and gentlemen, this gun is mainly focused on engage low-flying aircraft and low-flying enemy helicopters. Ladies and gentlemen, this gun fires 4 kilometers in the air. Ladies and gentlemen, it is followed by the gun tractor, the Saba 100 gun tractor, which towed the 35mm anti-aircraft gun. This 35mm anti-aircraft gun fires 550 rounds per barrel per minute. Ladies and gentlemen, this 35mm anti-aircraft gun engage low-flying enemy aircraft and low-flying enemy helicopters at a distance of 4 kilometers from air. Ladies and gentlemen, the gun tractor towed the 35mm anti-aircraft gun. It is followed by the Cooper. It is a radar detector. This Cooper detects enemy identification at a distance of 120 kilometers. It also identifies enemy helicopters and enemy aircraft with an effective identification of 18 kilometers. Air defense artillery force all the way from Kimberley in the Northern Cape.
The next capability, ladies and gentlemen, is a capability that is quite familiar. The Commander-in-Chief alluded to the utility. The South African Army Engineers. In front, ladies and gentlemen, is the Huskies. These are the vehicles with which mine detection and the subsequent then destruction of such mines is done. And they are followed by the vehicle that specializes in creating lanes, safe lanes through minefields. The Commander requires a safe lane through which all forces can drive through minefields. Next is the medium girder bridge. This is the bridge that we lay by hand over obstacles to ensure that the mobility of all forces is not impeded negatively anywhere we go.
Coming to you right here from Richards Bay, where the South African National Defence Force, showcasing their military capability. But it's not only a day for that. It's a day whereby also the South African National Defence Force takes time to commemorate those fallen women and men, and also, an incident that happened, in 1917 when more than 600 South African soldiers perished while they were deployed to go and participate in the First World War. This day is not only about commemoration, it's also about showcasing, and this obviously has a reason, where young people are shown, how the army operates, what the army has, and what it takes to be, in the military. But with me here, I'm with a young lady, Patience Malebana.
Patience
Lesabane, excuse me for that.
Yes.
You joined the military. When we spoke, you said you joined the SANDF in 2019.
Yes, correct.
Just take us through your experiences to date and what made you, to join the army. I mean, we heard the president saying that it's not an easy task.
Yeah. It is not easy, but definitely doable. I joined the South African Air Force in 2019 after I just completed my BA in Political Science and International Relations. I'd like to believe that for me to join, it was a calling because, while we were in varsity, we were discussing different careers where we would use our degrees. And one of my then colleagues said, you'd feature well in the military. I had little information, but I made it my prerogative to go out there and research more about what is it that I can use or volunteer my skills in the SA Air Force.
You as a young person, would encourage young people to join in, to sign in? I mean, when I heard the president speak and when I read on it, it'd be like, you put your life, at risk. Would you encourage young people?
I would definitely encourage young people to look into the different careers we have in the South African National Defence Force, simply because it is not only about the shootings. There are many diverse careers that people could venture into. For instance, this past week in Richards Bay, I've been part of the chaperoning team, whereby we escort learners to Fen Park area where different arms of services are there with different careers, presenting to these learners that, listen here, this is what we are doing. We don't only hold guns. Yes, we are soldiers before our professions, but these are our day-to-day duties on a daily basis.
Okay, just the last one from me.
Yeah.
In a nutshell, for those who are stereotyped that saying that the army is not for women, what do you say to that?
I'd say the army is definitely for everyone. It's not based on any gender. There are women who are thriving in the South African National Defence Force. In the Air Force, for instance, we have Major Mandisa Mfeka, who is a fighter pilot. We also have Sergeant Kalenga, who recently completed her paratrooping course, which is considered to be very challenging.
Well, thank you so much. That was one of the young ladies we met here. What created interest was that I saw her walking by and we just had a conversation, and you'd be surprised how many young people are part of the SANDF. But with that being said, it's back to you in studio.
Thank you very much, Captain Mufina from South African Navy. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the approaching mechanized school office from South African Military Health Service. This is the service that's receiving the training. The service daily core business is to provide medical support to the broader South African National Defence Force communities. The mechanized squadron is led by Major Mutalipwe Gail Musi from Area Military Health Unit Northern Cape in Kimberley. And second command is Captain Mutalipwe, and her Sergeant Major is Master Warrant Officer Martin. The vehicles that are passing in front of us, ladies and gentlemen, it's a physical command and basic ambulances.
The fencing is a man-protected armored vehicle. The physical command is for command and control purposes in the battlefield. It therefore has an office-based capability. The fencing ambulance is occupied by a medical crew of 3 members. It has a patient capacity of 4 on a lying position, and 3 patients are seated. It is utilized to provide medical support to mechanized forces and motorized infantry of the South African Army in hostile situations. The white infantry ambulance is utilized in peacekeeping missions outside the borders of the Republic. The white paint on the face symbolizes peace, and the red cross indicates the medical service affiliation with the international communities of the Red Cross. The first ambulance is followed by simultaneously soft-steel ambulance, a medical crew of 3 members, patient capacity of 4 patients in a line position. It has an hydraulic patient lifting mechanism capability. It is used for first preparation and medical support to the light infantry of the South African Army. Ladies and gentlemen, the simultaneous ambulance is followed by Land Cruiser 4.4 capability, medical crew of 3 members, patient capacity of 2 regional line position. The Land Cruiser ambulance is utilizing program line operation and force preparation during training and exercise. The Land Cruiser is followed by intensive care unit. This is a mobile ICU system. It's managed by 3 medical personnel, of which 1 medical doctor is proficiently to support the medical staff leaders. It's utilized during urban operation. The mobile ICU is followed by resistance of steam. Medical crew of 3 members, patient capacity to light position. The ambulance is utilized for 4 people. It is a workforce of South African military health service in terms of day-to-day emergency response to South African National Defence Force members, their families, and non-tactical military convoys. Ambulance is followed by a mobile clinic. It's managed by a crew of 4 members. It's utilized for minor ailments. It possesses a patient stabilization capability in hostile situations when deployed tactically bound behind the force. Can also be used in operations other than war, in humanitarian relief operations. The mobile clinic is followed by a chemical, biological, radiation defense vehicle, carrying a casualty and mass decontamination station. This capability is manned by specialists from 7 medical battalions in Pretoria. It responds to chemical and biological incidents nationwide, collaborating with other relevant state departments. It is followed by keynote capability for military veterinary institution situated in North. Ladies and gentlemen, what's passing in front of us now is a Sergeant General vintage green ambulance. It is a 1940 Ford V8 engine. This ambulance belongs to Sergeant General of the South African National Defence Force, Lieutenant General Nisaveli Tamapa. Ladies and gentlemen, the Sergeant General ambulance is followed by what you call simultaneous LED mobile workshop. It is manned by a crew of 2 mechanics. It provides technical support to military health during operational performance. Ladies and gentlemen, that was South African military health service. Orders and serve we serve the brief. I will now hand over to Lieutenant General.
Approaching is the echelon of the battlefield under command of Chief Logistics, Lieutenant General Kolani Brian Lowe. Ladies and gentlemen, from DOD Logistics Division, observe the Unimog U5000 4x4 rural ramper. It is a structural and forest firefighting vehicle. It can carry a crew of up to 7 members. It contains 3,000 liters of water and 300 liters of foam. This vehicle, ladies and gentlemen, it is used to rescue, recover, extinguish, and protect on and off roads during operation and disaster relief. Up next is the tipper truck, FRS 800. It is a medium-scale transport, mostly used to transport milled sand, concrete stones, and rubble from one place to the other. It can carry a load of up to 4 tons. Following that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Questa Beauty Crane truck. It is a double axle transporter truck comprising of its own crane and lifting tail, utilized in assisting during loading of equipment. It has a loading capacity of 10 tons. Following that, ladies and gentlemen, is the South African Forces Institute, known as SAFID, with a pantry capability, utilized to provide guaranteed training facilities for refreshments, entertainment, and other necessities, primarily for troops deployed, secondarily for military communities in their residential areas. Following that, ladies and gentlemen, from our hospitality services is our mess feeding capacity, MFFC 50 kitchen unit. It operates externally on a 3-phase power and externally by means of onboard generator. Inside it contains preparation equipment such as the oven, boiling pots, 20-liter mixers, just to name a few. Behind it, ladies and gentlemen, is the double amsaba, the ammunition core capability container. They are responsible for the total cycle of the management of the ammunition, commencing from its design, developing, conducting surveillance during in-service phase, until utilization or disposal. Inside, the equipment utilized in execution for one amongst other functions, which is vessel noise simulation. Up next, ladies and gentlemen, is the road grader. It is a mobile plant and moving machine. With it is a steer loader 4x4 TLB, known as Bobcat, which is utilized for small-scale loading. Ladies and gentlemen, is a famous excavator used for large soil excavation and loading on a dump truck. It is mostly used at quarry sites. Behind them, ladies and gentlemen, at the rear of the echelon, we have the 9th Foxtrot 60mm rifle commanded by Master Officer Mwalusi, who was responsible for the discipline and the replenishment of the mechanized column. That marks or that concludes the mechanized column, ladies and gentlemen. I hand over to Lieutenant Colonel Jerome.
Ladies and gentlemen, the mass flypast will now commence.
The aircraft that you will see in the mass flypast today come from all the squadrons and bases in the South African Air Force. The Chief of the South African Air Force, Lieutenant General W.S. Mbambo, PSCJ ENSP, leads an Air Force that is positioned to projecting effective air and space power through innovation in the theater of the South African Air Force operations among the nation itself. The appointed South African Air Force main coordinator for the Armed Forces Day Parade 2023 is Brigadier General Isaac Murienzi, Director Helicopter Systems. Together with him is the Air Component Commander, Colonel Makamnandi Zama, Officer Commanding 28th Squadron, Air Force Base Waterkloof. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be seeing the formation of the helicopters at exactly 11:40 Bravo time. The ground liaison officers responsible for the safety of the flypast are Lieutenant Colonel Ramaphosa, Lieutenant Colonel Roberts, as well as Lieutenant Colonel Zungu. This team, together with many other support staff and ground crews from various units, have worked tirelessly to ensure that this flypast is conducted in a professional manner. Ladies and gentlemen, the helicopter formation is led by Major Jade Adams, call sign Milo, A109 Flight Commander at 15 Squadron, Air Force Base, Devon. Ladies and gentlemen, the helicopter formation. Following the helicopter formation, we are about to see the Astra formation. The 5-ship consists of PC-7 Mark II aircraft from Central Flying School, Langebanberg. These aircraft are used for ab initio flight training for all the future South African Air Force pilots. The formation leader is Major Riaribua Mareva, call sign Majesty, a C category flying instructor. The Silver Falcons also use the same aircraft painted with white and blue colors. Ladies and gentlemen, the Astra formation. Coming behind the Astra formation, we are about to witness the formation of 2 Griffins and 3 Hawks. The combat formation. The South African Air Force combat formation comprises of 2 Griffins from 2 Squadron and 3 Hawk aircraft from 85 Combat Flight School, Air Force Base Makado. The Griffin is a multi-role 4th generation fighter aircraft. The aircraft is primarily used to protect the sovereignty of the South African airspace through air defense missions such as intercepts, combat air patrols, fighter sweep, escorts, reconnaissance, close air support, maritime operations, as well as pre-planned strikes. The combat formation is led by Lieutenant Colonel Scott Lohi, officer commanding at F-85 Combat Flying School. Ladies and gentlemen, the combat formation. All right, now we will be seeing Kane. He's quickly breaking off from the formation and returning to give us a beautiful air display. Ladies and gentlemen, apologies on that. Due to circumstances beyond our control, Kane is not going to be doing the air display anymore. Apologies for the inconvenience.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the marching columns, mechanized columns, and the mass fly past from the services and divisions of the South African National Defence Force.
Iphenduke emoyeni ayilona ke lingeke sakwazi bethi inenkinga ekhona lona ke bekukhuluma liphenduka emoyeni ekhona mazi uthanda nokuyifuza umoya futhi umoya ngoba
Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to enjoy ourselves as the Silver Falcons will be blessing us with a beautiful air display for a period of 5 minutes. The pilots will be transmitting live. Stand by to listen to the pilots of the Silver Falcons from Central Flying School, Air Force Base, Langebanberg. Now they're coming from the left-hand side. Let's check on the left-hand side is the formation of the Silver Falcons. Flying the Silver Falcons, we have Major Letofonolo Malukane in the first PC-7, the second PC-7 Mark II Astra is flown by Major Pule Maluka, call sign Shapa. The third PC-7 is flown by Major Shalifo Morole, call sign Cyprus. And the fourth PC-7 is flown by Major Kabelo Maleka, call sign Rocky. As well as going up with their nose pointing up, swinging the aircraft, plunging it again to gain speed. Ladies and gentlemen, the PC-7s were purchased in 1994. That is what we call the diamond formation. They received their midlife update in 2010 under Project Itambo, where the avionics were updated to the international standards. Among the other maneuvers these gentlemen are doing, they are doing what we call the barrel roll, which is to push the aircraft and turning it 90 degrees. Now we go a seat. Now rolling to the left-hand side. Activities display at 250 knots ground speed. Now on a wing over to the right-hand side. The aircraft is unpressurized, but has oxygen delivery to the aircrew. They are now on the final run-in, and that will be the end to their air display. Those are the Silver Falcons from Central Flying School, Air Force Base, Langebanberg. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a big round of applause. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, approaching is the National Ceremonial Guard for the final compliment. Ladies and gentlemen, the final compliment will now be awarded to the main functionary. You are reminded to stand on the playing of the national anthem. All neutral spectators are required to salute, and all non-civilian spectators are required to compliment by removing their headdress. Ladies and gentlemen, you may be seated.
Yes, well indeed, Nzinga, coming to you right here from Richards Bay. Let me take this time to welcome you and our viewers at home as we continue, with this coverage of Armed Forces Day. But with me, I'm with Colonel Teboho Todi, who's with the South African Air Force. Colonel, just talk to us with regards to what you do in your daily life.
Good morning, Ntanta, and the viewers back at home. By profession, I'm an air traffic controller, but I'm currently the senior staff officer air traffic management, staffed at or based at the South African Air Force headquarters. My main role is all about currently the management of the South African Air Force air traffic control capability, as well as providing the services that are required for the South African Defence Force, basically.
Quite interesting. Earlier we had a brief discussions, and I spoke to you about, the terrains that the South African National Defence Force has, the speciality. For a South African young person who would want to join and follow in your terrain, take us through what they have to do.
Okay, look, at the moment, currently as we speak, the South African National Defence Force as a whole is currently running the recruitment process, and the recruitment drive, if I can put it that way, which is ending on the 28th of this month, February. And looking specifically in the Air Force environment, we are recruiting all the way from people who wants to become in my environment in that is called the command and control fraternity, and also we've got people that can also specialize in the protection services, whether to become also in the logistics department, and also to become pilots if actually there will be opportunities in that line as well. And also people that can also become apprentices basically in the environment.
We just saw the final salute to the president there. Just talk to us a bit more about this. We know that when this happens, it is when the army is saying thank you to the president for coming. We appreciate it. Talk to us with regards to what's happening here. What is this part called here now?
Okay, what we've seen now, it is a National Ceremonial Guard that is completing their final compliments to the president together with the South African National Defence Force band. And but the National Ceremonial Guard is our front line of the people that are conducting the drilling ceremony to the president, actually, the presidential, what you call, activities or the parades that he conducts, basically.
Talking about activities, let me bring you here. We just saw a couple of jets flying by, you know, flying past here. What is the significance of that in this day?
Okay, look, we are showcasing our capability in a role. That is one of the reasons why we are here in Richards Bay, to show the people what is the Air Force is it all about. So we got to see at the beginning actually of the parade, we got to see the salute fly past that was with 3 Augusta A109 helicopters during the 21 gun salute, whereby we had those helicopters that were flying past, showcasing the actually carrying the South African 2 South African flags and the South African National Defence Force flag.
How many aircrafts do we have, and what kind, which generation? Just talk to us with regards to that.
Okay, look, we've got a couple of aircraft in the South African Air Force, starting from the rotary wing aircraft, the helicopters. Actually, we can look at to become a helicopter pilot, for an example. We train them actually in the Augusta A109 helicopter, light utility helicopter. They've got various roles that we're utilizing it for, and then also followed by the Oryx helicopter, and also we also do have the Rafale attack helicopter as well.
One last question from me. How many women do you have in your terrain where you specialize? Is it open for women or is it for men?
Look, anybody can apply actually to specialize in this environment. Actually, in the ladies or in the women environment, we've got quite a few. As we speak currently in this event, we've got Colonel Nandi Zama, who is a C-130 commander pilot, and also who's in charge of that squadron as well. She's the one who's leading the Air Force component in this environment. I can mention a few all the way in the helicopter environment. We've got Lieutenant Colonel Mulawa. We also have got Dumsi, Major Dumsi, if I remember very well. She is the attack helicopter pilot in the Roy Falk. We also have got Major Vayeke Zanella, who is also a helicopter pilot actually, who's currently an instructor in Langemanberg for the training of the pilots actually.
Thank you so much, Colonel.
Okay, thank
well,
you, sir.
that was Colonel Todi just explaining to us, you know, what the South African Air Force is made of, talking to us about different planes they have. He mentioned the Roy Falk there, and quite importantly, you know, also talking about the space for women, saying that, you know, in his terrain, in his speciality, it's not only for men, but women can participate and can become pilots. But with that being said, it's a wrap from us here from Richards Bay. Zinga.
Overweight, high rate.